my name is Eli Ruiz Quintana. I am in the course Unv108, and today I'm here to talk about different dispositions and talk about, kind of like a self-reflection on me and talk about that. So I personally think some dispositions that I possess are definitely compassion. I think that in today's society, we tend to lose that, put yourself in their shoes kind of aspect and kind of like thinking. Especially in today's, as being a student today, it's very different from many people's, type of experience. I mean, with all of the violence, with all of the different things that are happening in our world, I think we tend to forget, like, hey, this is something that students have to go through and we did not go through this. So I think that that's something that is really important, and I personally am always trying to strive to put myself in other people's shoes, and I try not to be critical of others, because you never know what they're going through, and you never know what their life and what their situations can be and how you would react in that kind of, environment. I think that I have a dedication that is pretty high. I've loved teaching ever since I was a kid. I mean, I used to have my friends over and I would play school. And I think that the dedication that I have to helping people and helping students is so, it's there. Growing up, I didn't have a very great school experience. And I've always, especially now that I'm older, I'm like, hey, I can be that influence. I can be the good influence, that little miniature Ellie, kids who are going through the same stuff that I did, that I can help with, and I can kind of move them so they don't have to go through the same struggles. I think that dedication, like, that kind of influence is something that's very important to me, and I've always strived to try and help with people. And being a teacher to me is literally everything. I've never felt so confident and so sure of anything in my life. I love teaching, and I think that that's something that really helps me push through, school, push through all of the different, struggles that teachers go through that most people would kind of steer away from. I think that dedication is what really sets me aside from, going through like a different struggle or something like that. I think that's something that I would have to work on. Obviously, I'm not going to keep talking so highly of myself. I think something that I would have to work on is definitely keeping that professionalism that sometimes we tend to get rid of, or kind of tend to not acknowledge as much once we start to get comfortable in the workplace. That's something that I can definitely attest to. I mean, I've been working where I work for about a year now, and I've definitely, I used to always come in extra early, and I would, maybe, do different things that I now, because I'm so comfortable, I don't do. And I think that that's something that I think a lot of people tend to do, and I don't think that it's, obviously with reason. It's not a horrible thing, but I think that, coming in early, coming in with the best positive attitude that you can, keeping, communication, those kind of things, being respectful of others, I think that that's something that is crucial, and especially in this type of workforce. But that's something that I definitely would love to keep working on and keep improving on, and keeping a consistency. I think that's something that I would want to keep working on, keeping that consistency and always coming in early and always, having that positive attitude. No matter if I'm not feeling it. I think that that's something that I would definitely want to work on before or even when I'm, in the field. I think that that's really important. I think some qualities that really make the greatest teachers is definitely passion. You can definitely see the difference between teachers who have a passion and teachers who don't. I think that that's just, it's so crucial. It's so important to have that. And then I think empathy and patience. I think that's something that, especially when you're dealing with like younger kids, I think you really have to be patient. we tend to lose the fact that these are children, you know, like it's harsh sometimes, you know, like to be like, okay, you gotta keep repeating yourself, and I used to live with my nieces and nephews, and I remember always having to repeat myself, and for me it wasn't a big deal. I always say I have patience for little children, like little kids, more than I do for my peers. But I think that like patience is really, really important, because I mean, you're gonna have to repeat yourself. You're gonna have to, you know, keep your cool when maybe your students are really causing you to want to yell at them. So I think that's so important. I mean, once, you know, it's like, if you look at it in an aspect of like, you know, as a student, hey, this teacher is always helping me and is always, you know, even though I feel very insecure to keep asking, you know, this teacher's always made me feel welcomed and has always made me feel like, hey, I can ask as many times as I need, you know, that kind of thing. That's really important, and that patience is how you get to that, how to make sure that your students feel comfortable, and how you can make sure that your students feel like, you know, that classroom is a safe space. You know, you can't feel safe in an environment where, you know, the teacher's yelling at you for talking, you know, too many times. I mean, it's a thing of like patience and being able to be assertive but be kind, and, you know, keeping your cool. I think that's really important. I mean, that type of quality makes the greatest teachers. And I think as well, I think having the ability to just sit there and listen, and to be able to be like, you know, let me quiet down and let me see the surroundings. I think that's something that's very important. I mean, you can learn a lot just by sitting there and listening to your students. I think especially in high school and stuff like that, you know, just being able to give those students an outlet, I think is really important. And that quality of being able, like, being a good listener is so important. Even with little kids, I think it's important as well. I mean, these kids are always wanting to talk. I remember when I was shadowing, it was hard for me because I always wanted to listen and I always wanted to hear what they had to say, and I had to try to like redirect them to like, okay, I want to hear this, but we gotta get to, you know, learning. But I think that it's really important to be able to have those kids feel as, you know, they have someone to speak to. I mean, if you don't have that, how are you able to be there for students and, you know, aspects that are a little bit more on like the negative side? Like, you know, if a student is being bullied, how can they feel that comfortability if you don't listen to them? You know, if you don't have that open ear in the little things, how do they know that you're gonna have that big, like those open ears for big issues? So I think that's something that's really important. But yeah, thank you for listening to me. I kind of rambled on a little bit, but thank you.